Duygu, standing outside Kagla's villa, continues, I've been kicked out of the house, please help me, Mrs. Kagla. There's nowhere else for me to go in this cold. I'm begging you. Kagla becomes curious about Duygu's story and allows her to enter. Then they both go to the living room. Kagla curiously asks, so, what happened? Tell me. Duygu, covering her face with her hands, cries for a while, struggling to speak. What did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve this? Kagla suggests, do you want me to talk to your mom? But Duygu vigorously rejects it. No, I don't want her to know anything. Please, don't. Then she continues, what will I do now? Kagla says, it's okay. It'll be okay. You could stay here. Rejoicing, Duygu hugs Kagla and thanks her. But Kagla half-jokingly reminds her, but after taking a shower, okay? Otherwise, I can change my mind. Duygu stops crying and says, okay, Mrs. Kagla. I'm going to take a shower right now. She goes up the stairs and starts to shower. Later, they continue their conversation in front of the fireplace in the living room of Kagla's villa while drinking wine. Kagla again half-jokingly says, first, Ada lost her hand last year, then Yagmur broke her bones, and now your knees are bleeding. What's wrong with you gals? Why do some things always need to happen to you? Then she laughs. Hearing this, Duygu coldly stares at Kagla. Realizing this, she stops laughing. Then Duygu says, actually, I could have stayed in the dormitory at the school. But Gokhan and Ada are there too. Kagla curiously asks, what do you mean? Are you afraid they might hurt you there or something? Duygu says, kind of. Kagla asks another question, but Selçuk wouldn't do such a thing to you, would he? Duygu replies, does it matter? As long as you want to defend him in every way. Referring to the fact that Kagla's supportive stance to Selçuk because his father is one of the donors of the school. Kagla unexpectedly confirms, well, that's true too. Hearing this, Duygu coldly stares at Kagla again and then asks, by the way. You won't tell anyone I will stay there, right? I don't want Selçuk to learn this. But Kagla says ambiguously, I will do the right thing. Duygu replies, what? What does this mean? Then she coldly stares at Kagla for the third time. Kagla loses her temper, don't look at me like that, Duygu. Are you going to haunt my dreams at night or something, is that what you want? Then she casually yawns, which reminds Duygu of the time. Duygu says she wants to sleep now and Kagla leaves the room to get the sheets. After that, Duygu starts to examine the books in Kagla's library, which includes names such as Ayn Rand, Milton Friedman, Mikhail Bakunin, and Friedrich Hayek. Duygu becomes quite interested in the library. She starts to read one of the books. Kagla enters with the sheets in her arms. She says, are you looking for a bedtime story or something? Kagla puts the sheets on the couch and walks towards the door of the living room. Duygu says, by the way, can I ask you one more thing? Kagla stops and says, sure. Duygu continues, Mrs. Kagla, may I ask who actually founded this school and why exactly? I mean, I couldn't find anything on the internet or anywhere else, isn't it a bit strange? Also, doesn't this school contradict Turkey's laws? How can all of this be possible? Kagla freezes for a while and says, good night Duygu, and then she leaves the room and closes the door. While Yagmur is studying in her room, her father and math teacher, Oktay, slowly enters and then casually asks, what are you doing? Yagmur makes her typical weird and ambiguous attempt at dry humor. Oh, hi Dad. I was just thinking about what the math questions might be. Did I keep you waiting? But Oktay doesn't understand. He explicitly confesses, I didn't quite understand, but I guess you said something good? Yagmur continues, why would I ever say anything bad to the world's best math teacher, Dad? What kind of implication is that? Oktay sits on Yagmar's bed and changes the subject. I just talked to Erdem. He says he has acquaintances who can get you into other schools. Hearing this, Yagmar suddenly becomes clear. But I don't want to leave this school, Dad. Oktay curiously asks, don't you want to leave? Why? Yagmar asks in the same manner, why would I? Then Oktay explains, as far as I remember, the last time you were in this school, you fell into a pit, got slapped by your, supposedly, best friend, and accused me of Ilker's death. What's going on with you, Yagmar? Are all these things really normal to you? Yagmar asks, if this school is so bad, why don't you resign, Dad? Hearing this, Oktay freezes, as he hadn't expected to hear such a question. He hums, well. Yagmar says, see. It is not easy, right? Oktay stands up and starts looking out the window thoughtfully. Then, for the first time, he confesses, when did this world start to become like this? It's like we're on a speeding train in a tunnel full of mysteries. I'm being dragged from one to another without even understanding one of them. I don't know about you, but I'm tired. Really, really tired. And this time, it becomes Yagmar who doesn't understand. She asks, Dad? What happened? Oktay explains, Gokhan apologized to me, but do you know what was really bad there? I felt like my soul was crushed, wondering if he was going to make fun of me just like Selçuk. And do you know what's even worse? I still don't even know if he mocked me or not. Yagmar saddens and hugs her father. Then she tries to appease him. Of course he didn't mock you, Dad. Why would he do this? Oktay continues to confess his feelings. I just don't understand. I don't understand why you still want to stay in the school, why Gokhan suddenly wants to apologize to me, or what your generation really wants. I don't think I will be understood at all. I'm tired of feeling behind, I'm tired of feeling mocked, and I'm tired of feeling out of place. I think it's time for me to move down. At night, Gokhan and Ada sit on the terrace of the dormitory, drinking coke as they try to reconcile. Ada claims she actually had nothing to say that day. Gokhan approaches Ada's claim suspiciously, to which she replies, you tell me. Gokhan responds straightforwardly, Ada, you don't understand. I can't read minds here. But Ada continues in her own way by saying, if you say so. Then Gokhan notices that Ada's coke is about to fall off the table. He points out, hey, it's about to fall off. After holding onto her coke for a moment, Ada quickly throws it off the terrace. Gokhan curiously asks, what are you doing? She laughs briefly and says, see. My mind can be read when you want. Her answer makes Gokhan laugh briefly. He takes Ada's hand and suggests, you are so cold, let's go inside. But Ada disagrees, what's the hurry? Our room isn't going anywhere. Puzzled, Gokhan asks, our room, referring to the fact that his Ebola might transmit to her if they get too close. But Ada doesn't seem to care too much about protecting herself from transmission. She says, you weren't thinking of leaving me outside in this cold, were you? Gokhan reiterates, Ada, I'm sick. Ada gets the message but pretends not to, saying, if I stay outside, I'll get sick too. Later, Ada lies in Gokhan's bed in his dorm room about to sleep while he sits on a couch. Then Ada tells him a bit of her story. When I was little, my mom used to call me her smart girl. One time, while she was asleep, I threw all her money in the toilet. When she asked me why I did it, I said, Mom, you've said money is just dirt. And I got rid of the dirt. Then she tried to explain to me how important money actually is. That's when I realized I wasn't that special in this world, even back then. He replies, Ada. How can you think like that about yourself? It's not true. You are special. She continues, I just say the truth, but you're just saying what will make you feel better. I'm not mad at you, by the way, don't get me wrong. I'm just angry at myself for only now realizing what my mother wanted from me. Poor woman, how she believed I could save her life. But could she have known that I can't even save myself? Ada's self-pity catches Gokhan off guard, and he isn't even sure what to say for a while. Then he goes technical, I think you need to see a psychologist. She replies, why? To hear more convincing lies? Is that what you would do? Hearing this, he realizes that maybe it's better to change his approach. He takes her hand and says, why don't you want to see that luck is finally on our side, Ada? Look, first we closed the murder case, then Yagmur forgave you, and soon I'll be healed, and we'll win the election, and all these things we've been through will be behind us. We have a great future ahead of us, and no one can stand in our way anymore. The tide is turning, Ada. But Ada continues to be pessimistic. No, not like that. And Gokhan continues to be optimistic. How is it not? You saw the messages on the forum. I will win the election, Ada. Duygu is doomed. If she could do something, she would have done it already. Ada replies, you don't know what kind of fox she is. But I know. And you can be sure that she will do any trick to win the election. And what about the others? What will Baris do to us? Or what about Yagmur? I don't think she's completely forgiven me yet. And we don't know what Kagla will do. And if that's not enough, I have finals that I haven't even studied for yet. Gokhan, I always wanted to believe in you, but now even trying to hide my feelings is becoming too much for me to handle. And do you know why I'm saying all of this now? Because a dark era is about to begin that will make us forget all of our beautiful memories. And several minutes later, Ada pretends to sleep, leaving Gokhan feeling terrified after learning more about her. He tries to stay awake for a while but eventually falls asleep. Afterward, Ada secretly checks if Gokhan is asleep or not, then quietly gets out of bed and starts searching through Gokhan's drawers. She takes the keys from one of the drawers and leaves the room quietly. Several minutes later, Gokhan wakes up suddenly from a loud explosion outside. He immediately checks his bed and realizes that Ada is not there. Panicking, he looks out the window and sees that Berezistan is on fire. He yells, no, and searches his drawers. He notices that the keys are missing, which leads him to believe that she probably killed herself. He continues yelling, no, 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 you didn't do this. You didn't do this. He quickly leaves his room and runs through the hallway, bumping into other students along the way. He grabs a fire extinguisher from the corner and goes down the fire escape while continuing to yell Ada's name. Then he runs towards Berezistan. Despite the objections of the students surrounding Berezistan, Gokhan enters the store to put out the fire. Later, several students with fire extinguishers accompany him. After a while, the fire is completely extinguished. While Gokhan is looking for Ada in Berezistan, he hears her voice from outside, Gokhan. Gokhan. Hearing her voice, Gokhan throws the extinguisher into a corner and quickly rushes outside. They make eye contact and start hugging each other passionately. After feeling extremely relieved, Gokhan says, "Oh, Ada. You're alive, you're alive. But why did you do this?" But Ada emphasizes another point, "Well, Gokhan. They're looking at us right now." Then Gokhan notices that the students are staring at them. Gokhan says, "Come with me. You are fine, right?" Ada nods her head slightly. They walk towards the campus square. Then he places his hands on Ada's shoulders. He asks with a worrying tone, "Ada, why? Why did you do this, Ada? I thought you killed yourself." Ada curiously asks, "Really? Did you really come to save me?" He jokingly replies, "No. I came to save the cocaines. Then he goes serious. Of course, I came for you, what else could it be? Hearing this, Ada smiles briefly, then explains, I just wanted to hurt Boris because he had beaten you. But this is actually not the only reason. Another reason is getting revenge on Kagla by destroying one of her major income sources. Plus, it will also damage the reputation of the school, which further annoys Kagla. But Ada doesn't tell her second reason to Gokhan. While Gokhan complains about how he didn't want such a thing, Ada changes the subject. Should we really be talking about this now? Gokhan asks, what? And Ada explains, everybody now knows that I am the one who blew up here. Because when you yelled, ADA, ADA, and ran towards me, you didn't leave me much space to hide. Gokhan, his mouth wide open in astonishment, puts his hands behind his head and yells, no. Shit. The next day, Kagla gives an interview to Tansu in front of the burnt-down Berazistan. Tansu easily sees the anger on Kagla's face and tries to choose her words carefully. With her awful Turkish, she tries to ask, was the explosion a sign of protest against drugs? Kagla asks, protest? What protest are you talking about? Panicking, Tansu explains, they say there was an explosion which also caused a fire. But Kagla looks at it from a different perspective, maybe it was the fire that caused the explosion? You journalists can't live without drama, right? Feeling stressed, Tansu changes the topic, they say that one of your students named Ada blew up the shop yesterday, correct? Kagla confirms and continues, it's not her first crime either. She had looted another student's shop before. We cannot keep such an entity in our school anymore. Then she angrily walks away. Boris is also in front of the burned shop, clenching his fist in anger while Duygu secretly watches him. As Ada walks down the school corridor, she suddenly makes eye contact with Kagla at the end of the hall. They freeze for a while, and then Kagla yells, you little bitch. Frightened by Kagla's voice, Ada desperately runs from her in the hallway, and Kagla starts chasing her, despite her high heels. The students watch them in horror. After a while, Ada loses her balance and falls to the ground due to the big bag on her back. Just as Kagla is about to catch her, Ada gets up again and continues running. Later, Ada quickly enters the principal's room. Oktay suddenly stands up when he sees Ada. She holds the door from the outside as Kagla tries to open it. Ada desperately and fearfully says to Oktay, please, please help me, sir. She is going to kill me. Please. Oktay freezes and can't understand what's going on. He asks, what? But Kagla tries to open the door while Ada struggles to prevent her. Kagla angrily yells, open the door. Open the door. Terrified, Oktay quickly goes to Ada and holds the door. Then he yells to Kagla, Mrs. Kagla. Please calm down. Calm down. She yells back, step aside, Mr. Oktay. Open the door, or I'll kick you out too. Ada begs Oktay, please, please, sir. Don't open it. Don't open it. Oktay replies to Kagla, listen, if you don't calm down, I'll call the police. Okay? Kagla responds, how can you threaten a woman? Are you for real? Then Kagla gives up trying to open the door and quickly leaves. Later, Ada hugs Oktay for a while. He reaches into his pocket and says to Ada, let me call the police, my dear. But Ada vigorously opposes it because she fears that a police involvement might reveal her other crimes. She pleads, no, sir. No, don't do it. Oktay is confused why she doesn't want the police. He says, you said she was going to kill you, how can you ask me not to call the police? After thinking for a moment, Ada says, because I won't be here anymore. Ada sits down and hands Oktay her petition to transfer to another school. Oktay continues asking, but my dear, didn't you tell me before that you need the money you're getting from here? Ada explains, does it matter? My scholarship will be cut off soon regardless. It's all over. But Oktay tries to be optimistic, but you can still get it back, right? She replies, Sir, I really appreciate your good intentions, but believe me, this is my final decision. After waiting for a while, Oktay tears up Ada's petition. Because he is also about to resign, Oktay becomes determined, ending his career at the school with a final heroic act, believing that Ada should reconsider her decision. Ada doesn't know this fact, so she raises her voice, What are you doing, sir? I said it was my final decision. He explains very confidently, then write another one and bring it to me. Otherwise, as long as I'm here, I'll never let anyone expel you from this school. Meanwhile, Kagla is fuming in her office at the school. She starts knocking over some cabinets in frustration. Hearing the noise, Jiri knocks on the door. She angrily and suddenly yells, Get out, prompting Jiri to quickly and frightenedly leave. Then she sits at her computer and starts writing a letter stating that Ada has now been permanently expelled from the school. Several days later, a young dormitory security guard named Onur calls Ada to come urgently, claiming she needs to take something immediately. As Ada enters the dormitory, Onur calls her, Excuse me, can you take a look at this? Mrs. Kagla did send this to you. Then he hands an envelope to Ada. She is frightened when she hears Kagla's name, but she takes it regardless. After signing, she heads to Gokhan's dorm room. After arriving, Ada wonders what's inside the envelope. Is it information about her expulsion from the school? But Oktay had promised her that as long as he is the principal, she will never be expelled. Kagla couldn't send such a letter without Oktay's approval, and that's where things become suspicious for Ada. She calls Oktay and asks if he approved of such a thing. Oktay claims he hadn't even talked with Kagla again, let alone approving such a letter. That's when Ada becomes sure that something is off. Later, she hears Kagla's loud conversation with Onur outside and briefly watches them. Ada puts on Gokhan's sunglasses, then his gloves, and wraps a scarf around her face. With the envelope in hand, she enters the bathroom and opens it while holding her breath. White powder spills out of the envelope, and Ada realizes that it is anthrax. She quickly dumps the envelope into the toilet and flushes it, then hurriedly leaves the bathroom. Terrified, Ada paces in Gokhan's room for a while. Looking out the window, she notices that Kagla and Onur are no longer there. After a while, Ada slowly opens the door and sees them talking with each other at the end of the hallway. Panicked, Ada quickly closes the door. She puts on Gokhan's hat and coat, takes some money from the drawer, and grabs her bag. She then cautiously opens the door and peeks into the hallway. Slowly, she leaves the room and descends the emergency stairs on the left side unnoticed. She also calls a taxi to the school on her phone while running. Then she storms into Yagmar's electronic shop. Yagmar notices how out of breath Ada seems to be and curiously asks, Ada? What's going on, dear? Ada speaks straight, Yagmar. I'm leaving. Please forgive me. Yagmar, not knowing her story, asks worriedly again, What are you talking about, Ada? Why are you leaving? Ada replies with a similar tone, I want to ask you for one last thing. Please, I'm begging you, my whole life depends on it. Hearing this, Yagmar becomes frightened and suggests, What? What are you saying, Ada? You want me to call the police? Ada replies, No. It's not needed. Ada looks out the window for a short time, then asks, Do you have a GPS or something? The ones that can be attached to cars, you know. But Yagmar insists, But why? Why don't you tell me anything? I want to help you. Ada claims she would like to tell if she had time. Ada starts to reach out her prosthetic hand to Yagmar in order to get her GPS. After Yagmar looks at her hand, they start looking at each other strangely for a while. They both remember the moment how Ada had acted so oversensitive about her prosthetic hand when she had come here 1 month ago, which had caused all the unnecessary pains they had experienced. Tears start to come out of their eyes simultaneously, and then Yagmur tries to ask while crying, please. Please tell me you know what you are doing. Then she places the GPS tracking device on the table. Feeling emotionally overwhelmed, Ada struggles to speak. I swear, this will be the least dumb thing I'll ever do in my life. Then she unconsciously slightly smiles while crying. Then they hug. Ada takes the GPS and goes towards the door. As she was about to leave, Yagmur asks, but, you will come back, right? Ada stands for a while and cries even harder and then quickly leaves the shop. As Ada runs behind the main building of the school, she slows down after seeing the police officers on the opposite corner. Ada carefully looks around and discreetly approaches Kagla's car. She slowly leans down and attaches the GPS tracking device under the car. Afterwards, she stands up and gets into the back seat of the taxi in front of her. Ada starts looking out of the window. The taxi driver asks, where to, miss, small lady? Seeing the police officers looking at her, Ada quickly leans down and says, wherever you can go. Hurry up. The taxi driver starts driving quickly. And several minutes later, while in the taxi, Ada types, I love you messages on her phone. After sending the message to Gokhan, she takes out the battery and SIM card from her phone. Then, she throws all the parts of her phone out of the taxi. While Boris is drinking beer alone in a bar, Duygu enters and slowly approaches him. She pretends to meet him coincidentally, but in reality, she was already stalking him. She feigns surprise, Boris? What a surprise to see you here. He replies, oh, Duygu, you wanna sit? She claims she is afraid of bothering him on such a bad day. Boris mournfully says, never mind. Everything is already gone. You know. Duygu slowly sits across from Boris and replies, don't say that, Boris. Let those who have something to grieve for grieve. He continues in the same tone, but she wasn't like this at all. She used to spend the whole day with me if she was even slightly upset. Now she doesn't even want to see me. Then he starts crying. Duygu replies confidently, which does not fit the tone of the conversation, let her cry for losing someone like you, Boris. Then she unconsciously puts her hand on top of Boris and continues, is it really worth ruining yourself over someone like her? But her move makes Boris feel very uneasy. He didn't like Duygu's attempt to trash Ada at all. He slowly pulls his hands back and keeps them under the table, making Duygu feel awkward and embarrassed. It also makes her remember her almost identical moment with Ilker, except now Duygu is in Ilker's position. This briefly makes Duygu empathize with Ilker. Boris also feels awkward because of Duygu's silence. He continues, Ada actually ruined both me and herself by blowing up my shop. It was all because of that bastard Gokhan. None of this would have happened without him. I had a plan to take revenge on him, but now, damn it all, what else should I do? My shop or my revenge? Oh, how deep a hole have I fallen into? After thinking for a while, Duygu says, they say if you try to catch two rabbits, you'll lose both of them. I don't know if you want to hear it, but I actually have a plan to get you out of this hole. Surprised, Boris asks, you serious? And she continues, you had a computer guy, right? What was his name? Nate? He replies, yeah, so? She hands Boris a small piece of paper containing the IP addresses of Selçuk and Kagla's computers. She asks, can you hack these for me? Boris asks for the reason, but Duygu avoids telling the details of the plan. She just says, didn't you want revenge? I'm giving you an opportunity. After looking at the paper, Boris looks suspicious and unconvinced. He asks again, what kind of opportunity is this? If hacking two computers isn't worth the risk, then forget it. And besides, won't insurance cover the damage to my shop? She confidently replies, seems like you're putting a lot of faith in Kagla. Also, Do you think Gokhan will just leave you alone if he becomes the new student leader? Baris doesn't answer her question. Duygu assumes he's interested and continues, look. I know you don't understand anything right now, but if you do what I'm asking, I'll explain everything to you step by step. Okay? Baris honestly asks, can I trust you? She replies honestly too, I'm taking the same risk as you are. If I didn't trust you, would I be talking with you? After a bit more silence, Duygu concludes the conversation, I trust you, Baris. Do you trust me too? Selçuk is hosting a party at his villa, with his friends Batu, Ozan, Marit, Gokhan, and Tolga all in attendance. Yagmur is also at the party, but she appears somewhat unhappy, despite Selçuk finally punishing Duygu for slapping her. Is Yagmur unhappy because she thinks kicking Duygu out of the house was too harsh? As Selçuk performs a krump dance in the living room, his friends keep the rhythm by clapping and cheering him on. After finishing his dance, Selçuk is showered with applause from the crowd. He yells cheerfully, "You are amazing guys. You are amazing guys." The cheering continues for a while before his friends start chatting with each other. Selçuk sits next to Yagmur and drinks water. Yagmur playfully asks, "Don't lovers usually tango or something?" Selçuk catches the hint but pretends not to understand, teasing her, "People can do whatever they want here. There's room for everyone." Yagmur appreciates his humorous response and lightly taps his shoulder. Selçuk then shifts to a serious tone, asking, "Are you hitting on me here? In my own house? And now you think I won't hit you back?" Even though Yagmur senses his joking tone, she still prefers confirmation. Without saying a word, Selçuk quickly kisses Yagmur on the shoulder and pulls away just as fast. He asks, "How was that, huh?" Yagmur then brings up dancing, saying, "But weren't we going to dance together?" Selçuk responds jokingly, "Yeah, we were going to. If only you had joined me earlier." Changing the subject, Yagmur asks, "By the way, don't you think you went a bit too far with Duygu? First you kicked her out of the house, and now you want to be the student leader." Selçuk disagrees, saying, "She should have thought about these things before she slapped you and embarrassed you in front of everyone. What's wrong with you, Yagmur? First you forgave Ada, now you want to forgive Duygu. Don't you have any self-respect?" Yagmur shyly responds, "It's just. It's a bit harsh. Selçuk confidently states, remember, she didn't even come to see you when you were discharged. Why care for her when she didn't even care about you when you almost died? He then stands up and politely invites her to dance, which she accepts. Several days later, Duygu is sitting at her computer in Kagla's villa, analyzing Selçuk's chat logs. It seems that Barış has accepted her offer to hack the computers. After reading all of Selçuk's texts, she realizes his plans. According to their plan, Selçuk and Gokhan are going to swindle Selçuk's father with a fake investment scheme soon. She then meets with Barış in the school's workshop. Duygu explains how they are planning to defraud Selçuk's father. Barış curiously asks, but isn't his father a contractor already? How can he fall into an amateurish trap like that? Duygu claims it's likely that he could indeed fall into the trap, saying, despite being warned that the real estate bubble is about to burst, he won't stop. And now Gokhan is involved too. Doesn't it seem like he is quite susceptible to being fooled? Barış asks, so, what's the plan? Duygu says, first of all, Nate needs to become a part of Gokhan's operation. Barış questions, how, and Duygu explains, Nate will first establish a place for himself in their company. Then, when he tracks Gokhan, he will intercept the transfer and send half of the money to me. Got it? Barış objects, hey, wait a minute. How will Nate get into the company? This is impossible. Duygu also objects, then he can find another way. Am I the only one who's supposed to come up with ideas here? After a moment of silence, Barış raises another concern, by the way. Do you trust my friend a little too much, maybe? Duygu counters, I think you misunderstood me. You will have to trust him, and only if I trust you. She notices Barış's confusion and explains how they can trust Nate, saying, first, you will tell him that. If he tries to fool us, I will snitch on both him and you. And not only that, but I will also involve Kagla's acquaintances there. Did I make myself clear enough now? Her answer satisfies Barış. He casually asks, so, what about the money? She explains with a tired tone, I already said I will take half of it. The rest. Whatever you do with it, it's up to you. But I suggest you determine how to split it beforehand to avoid any problems. Ugh, my mouth is dry now. Okay, any other questions? After a bit of thinking, Barış asks, so when do we start then? Duygu snubs, you're still asking? He gets the message, the answer is, now, and he leaves. Several days later, Duygu walks alone in the school hallway, then suddenly sees Selçuk's friends coming from the opposite direction. Trying not to show her fear, Duygu slowly turns back and walks. But Selçuk and his other friends also start coming from that side. Realizing that she can't escape, Duygu fearfully stays where she is, and later, Selçuk and his friends surround her. Selçuk arrogantly asks, I remember telling you to withdraw your candidacy. Duygu shyfully replies, look, I'll withdraw today. Okay? Selçuk continues with the same manner, you better do it quickly because you only have 1 hour left. Duygu objects, but this is impossible. Even Kagla isn't here yet. How do you expect me to do this? Selçuk checks his watch and half-jokingly threatens, oh. Look at that. Time flies so fast. Half an hour has already passed. Duygu says, but, and Selçuk interrupts, you're going and find a way to withdraw your candidacy. Got it? Unless you want me to turn your world upside down, of course. Now get lost and never show your ugly face and freakish height to me again. Duygu freezes and feels clueless how to respond to such threats and humiliations. Selçuk yells, are you still standing there? Are you deaf or something? Get out. Selçuk and his friends push Duygu a few steps away. Terrified, Duygu quickly walks away. Selçuk checks his watch as he walks down the school hallway. Then, he speaks into his phone. Find her. And then they go after Duygu on the campus. In order to avoid being caught, Duygu immediately jumps inside a trash bin and calls Baris, asking, "So, what about the transfer?" Baris replies, "Nothing yet." Feeling disappointed, Duygu yells, "What? You kidding me?" Baris says, "If I wanted to joke, would I choose this time? I'm also waiting here just like you." Duygu replies, "No, no. You're not waiting like me. I assure you. You couldn't be waiting like me." Then she coughs. Baris asks, "Your voice sounds weird. Are you in a closed area or something?" She doesn't reply, just coughs. Duygu walks hastily down the school corridor, then enters the computer room and hides under a table. She takes out her phone from her pocket and waits for a message from Baris, hoping that the transfer will be completed soon and Nate will send her share. But several minutes later, 3 of Selçuk's friends, Merrick, Gokhan, and Tolga, enter the room. Gokhan bends down and notices Duygu hiding. She hesitantly and fearfully comes next to them, and then Gokhan calls Selçuk and informs him that they've caught Duygu, then he hangs up. As Duygu is being kept as a hostage, she receives a message on her phone and attempts to look for it, but Merrick immediately takes her phone. After he reads Baris's message, which consists of only the word bingo, he curiously asks, "Baris says you bingo? What's that?" Hearing this, Duygu excitedly stands up and enthusiastically asks, "Oh, really? You want to make some money? I can give you lots of money, guys, what do you think?" Although Selçuk's friends think that she is trying to fool them to escape, they still wonder what she will do next, so they pretend to believe her for amusement. Merrick asks, "Really? How will you do that?" Duygu excitedly claims, "All I need is just a damn computer. I'll just give you thousands of dollars from my account if you let me go. Simple as that." Duygu's simple and believable response makes Selçuk's friends very curious, and eventually, they give it a try. Duygu opens one of the desktop computers and then shows her bank balance to them. Seeing the $60,000 in her account, they eventually believe her and take the offer. Several minutes later, Selçuk confidently enters the computer room and sees Duygu sitting in a chair, surrounded by Merrick, Gokhan, and Tolga. Selçuk slowly walks towards Duygu and amusingly says, "Ugh. What's with this terrible smell? How did I not realize you smelled like this for years? You know, I actually came here to make one last offer to you." Duygu, who looks defeated and tired, asks, "What?" He replies, "If you apologize to me in Yagmur, I can maybe take you back home. What do you say?" She slowly stands up and confidently replies, "How can you take me back to your home when you don't even have a home?" Selçuk laughs at her answer and replies, "What? Are you for real?" Then Selçuk's phone rings, and he sees that it's Khan calling. He answers, "Yeah. What's up?" Khan informs him that a $120,000 that was supposed to be transferred to his account did not go through due to an unknown reason. Selçuk is horrified and drops his phone to the ground. At that moment, Duygu signals to Merrick, Gokhan, and Tolga with a gesture. Later, they grab Selçuk by his arms and prevent him from moving. Selçuk, shocked by the betrayal, threatens to destroy them if they don't let him go. But Tolga punches Selçuk's stomach instead, and Selçuk collapses. Then Duygu slowly bends down and wants him to leave the house and his candidacy. Otherwise, she is going to send his chat logs to his father, which will prompt his father to believe that Selçuk and Khan are the ones who stole his money. Then she confidently leaves. After that, she takes a shower in the school gym and feels like she's experiencing the second happiest and most exciting moment of her life. Because the first one is about to begin. As evening falls on the campus, the students gather in front of a platform set up in the school square. Gokhan, who has separated from the crowd, tries to call Ada but can't get through. Duygu, wearing colorful makeup and dance clothes, suddenly approaches him. She casually asks, "Are you sure you want to be here?" And Gokhan replies in a similar tone, Huh, why are you asking? She confidently replies, how about Oranai District Anadolu Street Apartment 6 Bakirkoy? Gokhan becomes shocked by the fact that Duygu had somehow managed to learn his aunt's address. That's why she had wanted Baris and Nate to hack Kagla's computer as well, because that's the way to learn Gokhan's aunt's address. She is implying that he would be better off staying with his aunt to protect her from potential dangers. Hence, he will not be able to pull any tricks to win the student leader election. That was the point of learning the address. A panicked Gokhan asks her how she learned his address. But Duygu walks slowly onto the platform instead and begins to perform a whacking dance under the colorful lights. The crowd becomes more and more excited, and in the middle of the show, she throws thousands of dollars into the crowd to amuse herself and guarantee her victory in the upcoming election. Meanwhile, Gokhan starts to worry about his aunt.